Good evening, racers and viewers of the Cool Down Lap here at Midwest Motorsports. I'm Anthony Castor, driver of the 8 Cup car and the 8 Porsche in the Road Series. And I'm joined here tonight with Justin Daler, driver of the 2 Cup car, 2 truck, and 2 Porsche in the Road Series. And James Johnson, the voice of Midwest Motorsports. He's the guy calling the action every Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday night. How you guys doing tonight? James, let's start with you, man. How's your weekend?
What's up, guys? It was great. Lots of Midwest motorsports racing and beautiful weather down here in Atlanta. I got to get out and enjoy quite a bit of sunshine and paid for it in the evenings. I was a little bit sleepy, but nothing like little Midwest motorsports to pep me back up. I'm looking forward to the show tonight.
Yeah. Justin, how'd the weekend treat you, man?
It was good. Busy, a little bit of running around here and there, but we had nice weather up here as well, so it was pretty good. Found some time to finally clean my truck, so that was nice after somebody made a mess of it a couple weekends before.
I don't even think I ate in that thing. Wait, I did.
It
I had
did.
my mac and cheese
Nice.
bites.
Are you
Yeah,
that guy that
normally
doesn't let anybody eat in your truck, Justin?
I tried to, but he was buying. I was hungry. I figured I'd
On a
deal with it
road trip,
afterwards.
bro. You make excuses on a road trip.
But let me
Usually
tell
it's
you,
like sugar and candy everywhere.
the next time you talk to Chris, James, ask him about riding in Justin's truck. There's some particular rules there you gotta follow, or else you're gonna be walking.
You got to take your shoes off.
Pretty much.
Your hands gotta stay on your lap. That's it. You can't touch anything.
If you want things to last, you got to take care of them.
No feet on the dashboard. You can't take it with you, man. You're upgrading your lease every 5 years anyway.
No, man, she's buying out. Got to take care of stuff. You take care of it, it'll take care of you.
You got that right.
All right, guys. So we'll go ahead and get into this week in motorsports. Justin, we'll start with you, man, since you skipped out last week. What do you got today?
Just a review. We can just do it quick because it was kind of a snooze fest. But F1 was in Austin for COTA over the weekend. So this round, I guess, was a sprint race. So we had quali, and then the sprint race was on Saturday morning. And then a few hours later, followed by qualifying for I guess what you could say is the main event on Sunday. So sprint race. It was a lot of really good action. Ferrari made it really entertaining. Carlos and Leclerc were really battling it out. Lando was sitting P3, Charles P2, and Max was already about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seconds off the road by about the halfway mark. So Max was pretty well checked out of the sprint race. Lando was holding on, trying to put pressure on, but couldn't hang on and probably burned up his tires, I think, too early on. And Carlos Sainz managed to sneak through, and he was really pressuring Leclerc. Those two were going at it back and forth for lap after lap. A lot of the slow corners with some switchback moves and everything else. So it was really exciting to watch. Coming from the Ferraris. Then proceed on to a couple hours later was qualifying. Big name Lewis Hamilton knocked out in Q1. So couldn't get it right or something. I didn't really catch the whole reasoning or where his performance was. And even his teammate didn't have George Russell had a much better qualifying for the sprint race than he did for the Sunday qualifying. So I don't know if maybe they changed something on those cars, thinking they would give them a better advantage going into Sunday or not. But I think George started like somewhere outside of the top 10 or so, I believe. if not maybe a little higher up. But we get into the last. Everybody's pretty much doing their final run for the qualifying lap, and George Russell gets a pretty gnarly oversteer, and he tries to catch it, and it just snapped on him. He went off into the barrier with a lot of people really finishing their final lap, and at the time, um, Lando Norris was I think about a tenth or two up on Verstappen at that point, followed by Max in P2, and I want to say it was maybe Leclerc in P3. So that brought out the red flag. So, and that was in Sector 3. So that brought out the red flag, qualifying done and over with. So headed into the race. Were you able to catch any of it, James? The F1 race?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But
So
before we start talking about the race, I want to ask you if you think the shortened weekend with the sprint series, with the sprint races on those weekends, they only get 1 hour of practice. I mean, do you think that now they're allowed to make changes after the sprint race before the race Grand Prix qualifying? But do you think the 1 hour practice was a good thing as far as not knowing exactly? I mean, now that we know how the weekend played out, do you think it was a good thing?
yeah, I think so. I mean, with F1, I mean, good lord, they're the most, they're such a technically, I think, higher leveled racing series. And I mean, I would say, a lot of F1 comes to play with the engineering and I guess a lot of data analytics as well. So I think they had it more than enough to know probably what to expect. The track layout and everything's the same. So I think it added a little shake up to it, but I don't think that was a huge impact personally myself.
Cool.
Um, so on to the race. Lando starting on pole, and I figured he wasn't going to be too aggressive, and that's what I think caused going into turn one. So, right off of the start, Lando went to cover the inside in the turn one and protect it, but he left just enough room for Max to stick that front wing of his Red Bull in there, and they both kind of run wide quite a bit, and guess what that allowed was the Scuderia Ferraris to kind of both try and gang up on them, right? So it was a battle between those four cars, the two Ferraris, the one McLaren of Lando Norris, and the one Red Bull of Max Verstappen. And Lewis did some changes, I believe, started from the pits. No, he started, I think, 18th. George Russell started from the pits because they had to repair a bunch of his cars. So um, Lewis starting back in, I think, 18th or 19th. And I want to say we're now only to like maybe lap 5, maybe 6. And Lewis makes his charge up really nicely. Up, I think he was sitting P12 actually, within just a couple laps. So he worked his way through the field, and the yellow flag's out. And I believe it was actually the same corner that gave Russell fits in Q3, and it was like a carbon copy. So Lewis Hamilton didn't hit the wall, but he ended up beaching his Mercedes and just sunk it right down. Couldn't get it. Couldn't get any traction in that gravel. So he was out of the race, and he did a really good job making his way through the field and everything, and for it to end that early, I think, because I think he was probably primed for a point scoring position for sure, especially moving that far up through the field so early on. I think he would have been in shot for definitely some points, maybe even like a P6 or so, with his abilities, but not much, I guess, from there to the last 8 laps, 9 laps of the race, James. Really, not
Well,
much. Not much was happening.
the
So
last pit stop, they put. I think I know where you're going. Almost everybody did 2 stops like a medium, hard, medium. And so by the time they got to that third stint, now Liam Lawson did an amazing one stopper, and that really helped him. I think you were going to ask about that too, but these last 9 laps were absolutely incredible on even tires.
Yep. So Max is probably out 6 seconds or so. Lando's running in second place. And lap after lap, Lando's really starting to cut through his lead. And I want to say it was probably lap 6 or 7 to the end. Those two were just going at it, trading blows. Some good defensive driving from Max to keep Lando behind. Well, actually, no, wait. That was for P3. That wasn't for the win. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Charles Leclerc was 20 laps ahead. It seemed like of everybody. He was
up the road. Yeah.
He was gone. He was checked out. He was cruising the rest of the race. So I apologize for that because I guess I'm used to earlier in the year when it's just Max out in front by a mile. But who was P2? Was it? I'm not even looking at the results. I'm trying to remember. Was it? It was Carlos. Carlos was having engine problems during that race, so it was good to see him come back. He said he was smelling fuel in the cockpit, which is probably not a comfortable feeling when you're in the Texas heat driving, Formula One car around as fast as you can. It's probably not the coolest thing that you're telling your team you can smell fuel in the cockpit, but
they said they fixed it somehow. Over the pits, there was a radio transmission they played that's like, "We're working on a fit solution, Carlos. It'll be fixed." And then, it's fixed now. You should notice the difference. I'm like, holy crap!
How they got little robots under all the carbon fiber bodywork, like welding shit or something. I don't know. See, I'm way off on this race. I was trying to focus on one specific thing. I think too much, but yeah, the Scuderias were out there. Max and Lando battling for the final spot at the podium, back and forth, and so many times, I figured Lando was gonna have to just try and send it on him, and give Max maybe a little bit of his hard, tough driving, to get through the field, but Lando really didn't. There came a point down the long back stretch into the tight hairpin left-hander that Lando was on his outside, and he probably had maybe a wing going into the braking zone, and it looked like they both braked really at the same point. Lando didn't really dive it in, deeper into the braking zone, but Max, I think he definitely opened up his steering a little. He knew what he was doing, right? So I think he opened up his steering a little bit, but the big controversy of that race was both cars, and this is how I see it, both cars ran off track. Lando kept his momentum, I think, better and overtook Max for position. So Lando was further off track, but I think it's black and white what an off track is in the world of Formula One. And Max was also off track. At no point did McLaren tell Lando to just give the position back, because there was probably four laps left at that point, 3 or 4. And it was a back and forth. You're hearing on the broadcast the Red Bull team radios popping up that they're informing race control, and the McLaren one's popping up saying, no, you were definitely forced off track, and we're notifying race control. And it was like a back and forth of not one of them's going to take the blame, right? Naturally, they are racing drivers, but I think it went to pretty much right after the race, and Lando was ahead by about 4.2 seconds. And it was almost like right before he was crossing the line, it was 5-second penalty. So that actually knocked him down to, I think, P5. His teammate Piastri was closer than 5 seconds to him. So instead of being able to either outrun that 5 second or just concede the position, when everything happened. Max gets P3 back to him per race control in the rules, and that's how that shook out. So your podium was 1-2 for Ferrari, and Max on the podium and third for Red Bull.
I would like to just point out that I did put a poll up for what team people saw winning this weekend at Coda, and shout out to the one guy who picked Ferrari. Great job, man. That was a pick there. You should have went and played that one at Vegas.
I mean, everybody typically brings upgrades to Austin. They have the long break and everything else. So it was interesting. I mean, I've probably had that maybe, but they're still. I think they're getting closer to Red Bull now in the constructors. So when you have two drivers scoring max points in a week, it helps. When you're not just getting one. And another shout out, I guess. Franco Colapinto had a really good race for Williams, and man, every race he's come into, I think he's definitely put that Williams, further than where it should go. And when you have a talent like that, to me, it's kind of a bummer that he's not getting a seat next year. It'd be interesting to see if he can maybe get up as a reserve driver, get a little more time in the F1 car. But also Liam Lawson for whatever the hell the new Red Bull sister team is.
Yeah.
Called RB. That's it.
Alpha RB,
V-carb. What the hell is V-carb?
Ari, Visa, Cash, whatever they're called now. I don't even know, but I mean, I was really impressed with him when he stepped in for when Ricardo broke his hand. Was it last season? And I think he's definitely going to put the pressure to Yuki for sure. And I'm glad that he's getting an opportunity. And I guess we'll see what Red Bulls. They might have a dilemma on their hands, whether to move him up into the bright lights of the real Red Bull team or not. Because I think Sergio still has another year, I think, on his contract. But I mean, he's completely just. I think he's in retirement mode or something. Even though he has a year, he's not. I don't think he cares about it.
I think that conversation. I think you could have like an hour-long conversation about the merits of getting rid of Perez versus keeping him for his money. But I don't know, man. He's dragging that team down in the team standings. So we'll see how much longer he gets to stay there.
Yeah, for sure. But it's hopefully for Liam, if he does get into that seat, that hopefully he gets plenty of time and on the grid, and he's not a third of a season, and then they're going to toss him in there and then can him after 3 weeks or whatever. But I mean, after him seeing what Sergio's done, he could definitely do better than that. So I don't think the bar is very high. It's not the years when Red Bull was trying to take it to Mercedes for 7 years in a row and really, really needed that maximum points, from its second driver. So
I think Liam Lawson could definitely give Max Verstappen. I don't know if he could give him a run for his money, but at least in the same equipment, I'd like to see how far off they are. Because Liam Lawson definitely out kicking his coverage or doing better than his performance. He's making Albon look like a chump.
I guess that's the one thing you're kind of seeing right now with the other major teams. Like normally, Hamilton and Russell are running closely together. Sainz, Leclerc are running closely together. Piastri and Lando are normally right next to each other, but then you got the Red Bull team where Max normally, more often than not, unless you're at, and I'm going to butcher this, so Josh, don't come through the computer.
Azerbaijan.
That one there, the one with the castle.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah, thank you. Whenever they run there, it seems like Perez outdoes Max, but normally 90% of the other races, there's such a discrepancy there that I think with these other teams running as close as they are, it's going to be hard for Red Bull to pull off another team championship with that type of discrepancy.
Yeah, I agree.
There's only like was it like 6 points between Ferrari and Red Bull now?
Yeah, it's very, very, very close. So I mean, hell, if Red Bull might say this is all your fault, Sergio, you're gone. Like, you weren't there week after week, consistently scoring points. Where were you? Where was your form? I guess from the first part of the season.
And there's still 5 races left. I mean, there's still a lot, and I think one of them is a sprint race as well, where they get
Yep.
points for two point scoring weekends on the same weekend. So 2 point scoring races on the same weekend. And I don't want to forget about Haas. I got to throw them a little bit of love for
Oh yeah.
getting double points in the sprint race.
Yep, for sure.
So
I don't know what happened. Just real
yeah,
quick, just because you mentioned Haas, I don't know what happened. What K-Mag? He came out of the
yeah.
pits, and then they immediately told him to box again. I didn't catch what they said was the issue with the car.
I don't know about the double stop. I don't remember that part. I know they told him to come in a hurry because they may have noticed something or they saw something. And then I think it was the timing with, was it Gasly or one of the Gasly or Ocon ended up coming out right in front of him after they overcut him. So I think they were just trying to rush in. But I'm looking now to see how many pit stops he made. But yeah, they're on their way out too. I mean, they know it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. But big sponsorship with Toyota. But
Yeah.
whole new cast of drivers for next season, which I'm not personally thrilled about. But
It's almost like they're going to be starting over with Toyota. I don't think that means they're going to get parts from Ferrari anymore, are they?
no, they still are. They're still going to do a lot, but the partnership with Toyota really gives them access to a lot of technical support, as well as the drivers will have access, much, much, much easier access to the simulator right now, because I forget all the different countries, but Haas is kind of, you know, they have their plant over here in the U.S. and then they have like a plant in where is it? They have like multiple in Europe. So the Toyota partnership will give them access to a much better uh, simulator and better access, I guess, as well as all the technical aspect of the support from Toyota.
If you can't tell, we love our F1, man. You ask us about F1, we can talk for hours.
Yeah, so I think next week is Brazil, and I believe that's another sprint race. So back to backs.
No,
Maybe
Mexico's coming up. Mexico first.
Is it
Then
Mexico and then Brazil? Okay,
Yep.
and then what? A week and then Vegas.
Correct.
Yep. So we'll have to do another week off there in a couple weeks, but hopefully Brazil, maybe some rain will come into effect in one of the races, spice things up a little bit.
Always does.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you catch this weekend, James?
Oh man, like I say, I really watched the highlight reels of the NASCAR Xfinity series. That was pretty cool. Good to see AJ Allmendinger win when he gets a W, man. I mean, I'm gonna stick around and watch it, man. His fist pumps and he always grabs the camera and gets his face right in the camera. And I like that. I don't know if he does that on purpose, but I saw a highlight thing on X or whatever it is where they were like the past 4 or 5 wins AJ's got. He's grabbed the camera and put his face in front of the lens. So I thought that was good for AJ to get a win. Did anybody else catch anything on the Xfinity race?
No, sir. I wasn't
I did
home for
not.
any of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to minimize it or just skip over it. But it came down to fuel as well, I think.
Do you know what happened to Little Gator Algier? I've been hearing he's had a really bad run at these playoffs. If you didn't, then don't worry about it.
Just bad timing with where the cautions and pits work out. But he was running fourth or fifth. Let's see.
I have a question when you're done with looking that up because I don't
Yeah.
want to distract you.
Go ahead.
No,
Look,
distract me.
I'll,
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and look it up real quick. But go ahead and answer Justin's question.
Who who who'd Austin Hill reckon this week? And I mean, I know he didn't. I know if he wrecked somebody, he didn't blame himself. But I was just curious who he might have wrecked this week.
No, it didn't make the highlights, but he was in front during a pit rotation, and I had to take a double take and like, wait a minute, what's happening here? Oh, it's pit cycles, of course.
Oh, good.
He finished 10th.
Yeah, looks like Algar finished third.
Yeah, he was up there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really get to see any of the Xfinity race. The Cup race, however, I did get to see a little bit of that.
Yeah, let's go there.
Go, hop on into it, man. Go ahead.
Vegas is awesome track, man. I love it. They were, multiple racing grooves, and they talk. I mean, it's true that you can take the air off somebody's nose by driving their line, and you have to go where they're not if you're behind them. So that was always going to play a factor. Early on, though, after one of the restarts, what I call the big one, Tyler Reddick tried to go four wide with, who was it? Chase Elliott, and there was somebody else, and then Martin Truex Jr. down low. And I don't know. I think Reddick kind of, I don't want to say he forced him four wide, but he was riding the wall. And so the three that were down low and MT Martin Truex, and I love the guy, but he's not in the playoffs, kind of forced him three wide there. And then the two cars that were outside of him are now middle and outside. They make room for MTJ, but Tyler Reddick's already looking for that. I don't want to call it a sucker hole, but looking for that hole between the wall that was there, and it was just disappeared when they adjusted for Martin. And then Tyler Reddick got sideways and came across the Legends track and rolled over, landed on his lid, and landed back on his wheels. Drove it back to the pits. Couldn't make speed. The car was junk, I guess. So he had to take it behind the wall and never even tried to make speed after that. I guess the car was in too many pieces. But we had another rollover. I think it was a factor. It wasn't speed that was the only factor. It was the way the tires hit the Legends track in the natural grass. But the whole thing could have been avoided, I think. But they were four wide for a split second. But Vegas gives that kind of racing, though. If Vegas, multiple grooves, trying to avoid the seams and just letting it rip. It's a fun track.
I would have to say the biggest storyline, well, one of the biggest storylines to come out of Vegas would have to be the playoff drivers. You had what?
Yeah.
5 playoff drivers. 4 of them. One of them actually managed to kind of have a day that was a little bit better than what it was aiming to be, but basically half the playoff drivers had a terrible day. The other 4 kind of ran around the top 10.
Yeah, are you talking about Larson? Because Larson had 2 pit stops where they had loose wheels, so he had to come back and.
Yep, 2 pit stops with the loose wheels. He had to pull the aluminum out of the front end of his car from Tyler Reddick's wreck. They just had one of the days to forget, and somehow they were able to pull it from 2 laps down. They were able to come back and get 15th, I think, or a top 15 at least.
Yeah, I think he finished 11th. I'm looking that up.
Yeah, that's another one of those things we talk about, like the other week with Reddick. I mean, that was last week with Reddick. It's one of those championship drives where you have all the cards stacked against you. You got to drive through it. I think in Larson's case, though, is he can afford one of those off races with the points gap he has versus Reddick. Reddick has to go out there and these next 2 races, He's going to drive like a man possessed, I bet. Try to get a win at
Yeah.
Homestead. That
And Chase.
yeah, Chase
Chase was
too.
involved in that wreck.
Uh,
And he's last in points now, 50 something back. So he's
Yeah.
gonna have to have a win, I think.
So the only place I can see Chase winning would be Martinsville. That's just me thinking about it. Like, he doesn't seem like a kind of driver, and anybody in the group chat that knows any Chase stats wants to throw it out there. James, you followed Chase pretty closely, but he doesn't seem like kind of driver to really excel at Homestead. But
No, but I
anything
think
can happen, I
I think
guess.
he's a driver that you can't count out any weekend. He's just got to have his heart in it, though. It seems like he's. I don't know if he's just not in front of the camera and I'm not seeing it, but he doesn't seem. I'm not gonna say he's not trying, because I'm sure he is, but he just doesn't have that heart attitude like he has in the past. Although at Vegas, he tried to, he was in the middle 3 wide, which is not usually something that he would do if he wasn't trying to be aggressive. Um,
Well, I
so,
mean,
I don't know.
is the team he raced for? They're broke, man. I mean, Jeff
Right.
said they ain't got no money. I'd be a
Haven't
little
made any
dejected
money.
too.
I don't know if they showed Kyle Larson special with Jeff Gordon in their offices, and those offices look pretty dang nice.
Did they have the lights on? Could they afford to
Yeah.
turn the lights on? Okay,
I don't think they're missing any payments on their electric bill.
oh, that's good. That's good to know.
It's all solar powered.
Yeah.
So Joey Logano winning the race. I know there's quite a bit of controversy there. Just kind of looking at the news feeds and everything. I mean, it's the playoffs. That's how they're set up. I mean, if Joey Logano wins and you're in, that's how it works. I know he's right now. If they went off traditional standings, he's 15th in points right now. But that's the magic of the playoff system. It gives everybody a chance to get into the championship race.
Yeah, they lay out the rules before the season starts. So
We've had this conversation when Harrison Burton won. I mean, everybody signed up with these rules. So
that's right.
I mean, the guy, they make some great calls when it's these fuel mileage races. Great calls. And he has had some luck with, I know I talked to you too about Bowman getting the weight disqualification on a cutoff race, but he's locked in. He's ready for Phoenix, so it's going to be interesting to see who gets locked in next week and who else can start focusing on their Phoenix build.
Joey can.
Do you believe do you believe that actually helps a team to have the extra 3 weeks of preparation for Phoenix?
I don't think it hurts. I think it helps for sure. I mean, for peace of mind, if nothing else, I mean, you always seem to perform better, or you know, um, in a less stressful environment. And there's more stress a lot of times, especially with that many people involved. It doesn't take much to make a mistake. So when there's a little bit
Yeah.
less pressure, it's more relaxed around the coolers, and people are in better spirits, and you want to do better. And knowing that you're taking the right car to Phoenix, I think it makes a little bit of difference. And Joey can focus his efforts on driving Phoenix in the sim. He doesn't have to worry about Martinsville as much.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest beneficial. You get that win, especially this early in the round, and it's where you got to set your sights. You're not focusing week to week, and in the back of your mind, it's not the pressure to perform this week isn't as high. If you were say leading through points themselves versus having that guaranteed locked in position.
Yeah.
I think I mean nobody's happier than our very own Trevor McLaughlin about Joey getting in. So especially now that he's locked in. So I know Trevor drives in our truck and our Cup Series. he's just been over the moon. He can't
Elated.
contain himself. He just can't. He can't contain himself. I'm happy for him. I am.
Awesome. All right, so just to touch on another poll that we put up over the weekend. So I asked the league to choose the 4 drivers that they think is going to make it to the round of 4, and those drivers were Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney, with the most votes. So 3 people picked Joey Logano. You 3 people called it out. He's in. So we'll see how the rest of that list shakes out. You guys want to do a quick breakdown on the road series? I know we had an
sure.
off week. There wasn't any fun run, correct?
Correct.
No
Yeah.
fun run. This weekend this tomorrow night, we're headed out to Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, one of my favorite tracks. I mean, I have so many favorites. I can't pick just one. So I'll say it's one of my favorites. And that begins, the next 3 races are Road America, Road Atlanta, and then Sebring before the next off week. So I think that's a pretty good trio coming up. I think Sebring is expecting rain also.
It is
And,
Florida.
and it's an endurance race, 100 minutes of possible rain, possible drying time. So we'll see how that goes. But first, we got to get through Road America. Johan de Roy has won the past 2 races, if you remember. So want to throw that out there. Right now, Michael Odell is leading the points by 130 over Chase Fincher and Brian Coxon, but there are some drop races, so let's not forget those. I think those will start showing up in the points once we get down to, I think, 18 of 22 is what we said.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Yeah.
Expecting a big field. 31 so far signed up, but potentially some more to come. So it'll be a really, really big field.
I got to double check and make sure I signed up for that. I will be racing. I will be there.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's huge car counts, by the way. And so shout out. This might be a good time to give everybody a big shout out for participating in the poll that Justin recently put up. He's pinned it on the Road Series chat for determining the next season. There's lots of moving pieces, and we want the drivers' input. So, do you want to talk about the poll, Justin?
Yeah. So one of the polls that we had, was basically the drivers decided, I guess, moving into season 8. We put a poll out there whether we're going to stick with the Pro Am class designation split. I think that's been a really good thing that we've implemented here over the past couple seasons, and it seems to be doing what it should be doing. And I think the racing's been phenomenal, regardless of division. And one of the things, there's always a little bit of chatter of this, that, the other, and everybody has their own opinions. So one of the things we put to a vote here in preparation for next season was, does the league want to stick with basically a single car class / single car manufacturer, or would they want to go to a more traditional mixed grid where the pro class drives in one car class and the AM division drives in a completely different one? So it looks pretty overwhelmingly that the league has decided to vote and move to a more traditional mixed grid for season 8, which I can't stress enough. There's still a lot of racing left in this season to focus on, and don't just I guess discount the rest of this season for your hopes and aspirations for what could be the lineup for next season. But the other day. The poll will be ending tomorrow around, I think, 8 a.m. or so. Is what I put. It's pinned, so if you're one of our Road Series drivers, it is pinned in the Road Series chat. So if you have not voted, make sure you go down there and check that out. But this poll is a two-part. So this part is basically to determine the category of the classes that each division will go in. So the one option would be putting the pro class in a prototype car and the AM class in a production slash VT car. And the other option would be production slash VT car for each. And then depending on which one of those is the winner, the admin team is going to try and figure out some good BOP and what car classes. So they'll likely, depending on the winner of this vote, the second part of this poll will be a two option between option A and B. So they'll be differing, but the drivers are then going to vote for, what are we going to run next season in terms of the mixed grid. I'm not letting any of our thoughts out, but just think, one option could maybe be, and I'm going to use oval terms here. So, say one option is the next gen for the pro, and maybe for the AM class, say is the Xfinity car, and then say it's the truck for the pro for the second option, and maybe a late model for the AM, if that makes sense, without trying to give away any car classes and things that are relative to the roadside.
I'm pretty sure Justin just gave you the voting options, so.
Oh, that would be brutal.
So if that makes sense, so that'll be the second poll, and so essentially we're going to have to come up with two options, whether the prototype and GT car win or GT and GT win. We'll come up with two options for those guys to vote on, and that'll be the next one going into the season.
I'm not sure if you guys have made any decisions on the schedule or how long the season will be, but I think one of the biggest things that I would keep in mind is, it only works if we have people participating in it. I don't want AM drivers to not be happy with the choice that is made via the votes and then decide that, some people don't want to participate next season because they don't think it's fun. I think it's important to keep an open mind that any driving, especially in this league with the level of talent that we have, not only in the front, but all the way throughout the field, even to the back markers, so much respect is given that no matter what car you're driving, it's going to be fun in a Midwest Motorsports League. So it really is no wrong answer as long as you come back. But don't forget to vote and get your voice heard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've made it clear any of our series, first and foremost, you kind of got to remember, we're having fun out here, right? And I personally, I will race any car because I know there's going to be all those other guys out there as well. So, it doesn't turn into a hot lap, and I'm more than willing. And if you get out of your comfort zone and you have to adapt to maybe a different driving style because of the car and how the car reacts, or it's just not something you're used to. Maybe it has more downforce or less downforce. That there's always something that you can take away and just improve. And at the end of the day, it's a hobby. We all take it seriously for sure. I mean, I don't go out there just to drive around for an hour. I try and give it all I have every week, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's just a hobby. We're here to have fun, and I mean, my biggest thing is, the community that has come together and just decides to be here is just, it's second to none. I truly mean it. We have amazing cast of characters in every series that we have here.
I agree. So
make sure you vote if you haven't.
Yep.
And then there'll be another vote coming out shortly after all these admins get their noodles together and we can figure some stuff out for the next voting options.
And just to touch back on Road America, the stream should be starting up around 7:15, 7:20 tomorrow. Race starts at 7:25, I believe. So you guys can catch it here on the Ribbonvale Twitch channel. And it should be a good race. Last time these guys were out here, I believe the finish was basically a beard hair. So depending on whose beard it was, it could have been a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. So I'm sure if you guys tune in, it's probably going to be just another good race up to the finish. So you guys can catch it here on the channel tomorrow. And
I'm working on a couple of fun things for the broadcast too. So I think it's going to be me and Adam. Fingers crossed. It looks like Hopper has got his rig back together, so he will hopefully be racing. We'll see. But
not to take him away from you, but I like seeing him out on the grid with us.
I hear you. I agree. I like seeing him out on the track too. It's always fun when he joins me in the booth, but I think we'd all rather see people racing.
Yep. So we got to move on into the oval stuff, guys.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So. We'll get into the oval and we'll wrap it up for the week. So the Truck Series started their season off out in Daytona. I did get to watch a good bit of this race. A lot of it was probably from halfway on towards the end. But James, you had probably the best view in the house, the eye in the sky. How'd you make out with it, man?
And it's a very great, very good start to the Truck Series season. Great participation. We had 30 cars, 30 trucks signed up. I think there were a couple guys had tech issues and had to drop out. But all in all, I think a couple of people used their fast repairs sooner than they would have liked. But there was quite a lot of green flag runs. I don't think we had any green flag pit cycles, as the fuel run was about 20 to 22 laps. So me and Walker McNulty called the race, and Walker's a great addition to the broadcast. He's ready to come back and do some more. So expect a 2-man crew on the broadcast for Friday Night Trucks. It was great. I think it came down to a green white checker at the end. And I really thought it was anybody's race, but coming down once they took the white, all bets were off, of course. And I don't know if you've seen a screenshot or the picture that's on the stream now does not really do it justice.
Oh yeah, it was like 4 wide coming to the line.
Yes, and Robert Sanders there in the tie-dye number 6 gets his first Midwest Motorsports win, with Justin Thaler, Dustin Reinstedel, and Brandon Cotton coming within another beard whisker of second, third, and fourth. So, do you remember exactly how it played out coming off of turn 4 there, Justin?
I do. Dustin was lined up behind Sanders, and I was getting some awesome shoves from our biggest Joey Logano fan.
Trevor McLaughlin was there.
Trevor McLaughlin, and man, he really gave me some good shoves, and I don't know if he got shoved or something, but he kind of got kicked a little bit below that yellow line, so I lost him a little bit, and the guys in the top lane had more of a run, and all I remember was just trying to get the line as fast as I can, because I think Robert Sanders had, I'm not looking at the screenshot, but I think he had a little bit of a lead over Dustin, and then like me, Dustin, and Brandon all looked like we were about to cross the line at the same exact time. So I was just waiting to kind of get into turn 1, because I honestly had no idea where the heck I finished until I finally was able to look at the standings once everybody crossed the line. But I mean, that was we've had close finishes here, but I mean, for 1 through 4, that was insane.
Yeah, I think Josh had to make a call looking at the tape because it was so close. And even fourth, fifth, and sixth were within a thousandth of a second too.
Wow.
Yeah, Brandon Cotton was right there with you guys, and Robert Sanders got a push. I don't remember exactly who pushed him. It may have been Dustin, but there was a time when I thought he was going to get overtaken by Brandon and Justin, and then I think Dustin gave Robert Sanders a push there at the end, and Sanders just took it all the way. It
Mm-hmm.
was less than a truck length between from the leaders to second, third, and fourth. Then fifth, sixth, and seventh, Justin Glickner was in there. So he had a good run. Andrew Miller with a good run. And your pole sitter, Jason Phillips, and he was involved. Jason Phillips was involved in one of the wrecks, actually, probably two or three of the wrecks. But even in the last one that caused the green white checker, so Jason Phillips had to come from pretty far back in the pack of the lead lap trucks to make it back up to seventh to finish. It's pretty awesome racing. If you haven't seen the replay, I highly recommend going back and watching and listening. Even if it's on 2x speed, you can still pick up what me and Walker are putting down. I think we had a lot of fun, and it's keeps me looking forward to what's coming up next.
Yeah, I think Walker did an awesome job. I rewatched it, I think Saturday afternoon or so. So yeah, you guys make a good pairing up there, and hopefully he can keep doing his thing with you on Friday nights.
Yeah, no, it was great commenting from the both of you. Definitely a good chemistry there. I had some fun listening. I don't know if you guys seen, I was throwing some things out in the chat too, especially when it came to, I believe it was the last pit stop under yellow you guys were talking about, possibly pitting and whether or not you could make it to the end of the race. It was fun to hear you two go kind of back and forth on that. But yeah, great job, all you truck drivers. Heck of a finish there. Good job. And congrats out to Robert Sanders on his win in the start to the season. So hopefully we can get some more. Hopefully we get some more clean racing and get some close racing in, and have another great season with trucks and keep those numbers up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
even at Daytona, I may not have been too surprised, but I don't think there were any drive-throughs for going over the incident limits. So I was kind of expecting the new rules, some of the new rules to play in. But I'm glad they didn't. I think that's a sign of what's to come for some of the other tracks that the truck season is going to this season.
Yeah, for sure. If we can keep it like that, a track like Daytona, hopefully, that like you said, hopefully that happens the rest of the season. It's a long season.
I'm being reminded that maybe Mike Samia might have had a drive through and stop and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that put him back.
yeah, I think it dropped him down in the standings quite a bit. So up on the screen there, I have the truck points following the start of the race. We're going to see a tight field for the first handful of races. Maybe we'll see somebody get out to a little bit of a lead, but again, this is our first full big season running this new points layout, so we're hoping to see some tighter points races towards the end of the season as well. So again, keep those numbers up, guys. Keep coming out to the races, keep turning laps, keep working on the craft and getting better, and we're going to have a great season. Truck or cup. Wow, we just did trucks. Cup, and then we'll wrap up here, guys. So cup race out at Daytona. Up on the screen there, you're going to see that winner's graphic, and you'll see that Jason Huffman won the race. Congrats out to Jason. I got to watch this race too. I think it was like from the halfway point on, and it was about Uh, I want to say half or 3/4 way through the race when I tuned in, but it looked like it kind of strung out, and it was kind of like a train, no leading cars, and then the guys trying to catch. But James, how'd everything go for you, man?
Yeah. I was joined by Michael Harris in this one. Thanks, Michael. He's doing as much as he can this season with me. He's not going to be able to be there for the next couple of races, but he will be back. So keep an eye out for Michael to come back and join me in the booth. But yeah, the Cup race, we got a yellow right before the caution, competition caution came out. And then there was another yellow, but during the green flag stops is where I think they kind of got strung out a little bit. And there were really two groups that were working together really well. They just kind of pushed away from each other. I think there were a couple of guys that may have been playing it safe. And I think by the time everybody wanted to be on the bottom lane to come in for their green flag stops. So that was one of the things that contributed from somebody breaking off of the lead draft. And then once there's about 5 cars in the draft, is what it takes, from what I noticed at Daytona anyway, to pull away and be their own little group. And so for the last half of the race, there were two groups, like you said, Ant, that were about 5 cars each. And the first group was mostly the admins. I'm not exactly sure how that all played out, but Eric Thaler was leading. He probably had the most laps led. I don't know if that's a stat we can actually look at and see, but yeah, Eric in the 15 had a really good run going, leading from the front, which is where you like to lead, obviously. And so I felt pretty bad for him by the time, but I mean, I guess everybody was in communication and knew when they were going to pit, what lap, and they all came down together. Although there were a couple of close calls on the pit lane coming down, getting on the binders. A couple of guys missed their pit box, even on the first couple of stops, and that created more separation between the cars too. So then they had to either wait for the group behind and then try to contribute to that to catch back up, and it just never did. So that's why the racing kind of got spread out pretty far. But it was Eric Thaler, Dustin Reinstedel, Justin Thaler, and then I think Trevor McNulty, Trevor McLaughlin, Trevor McNulty, Trevor
That's a
McLaughlin.
new name.
Sorry, both of you guys. Tried to get in there, but he ended up being in the second group as well. And there were some lap cars mixed in there too. So between Eric, Justin, Dustin, Aaron, Holroyd, and Jason Huffman, those guys were really the class of the field, and I think they were all on the same voice channel, so able to talk about, you know, how to stay in line and not to risk it. And then the lead went from 2 seconds to 3 seconds to 5 seconds, and just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it was a lot of fun to watch. It was exciting. And the final pit stop came down, and it looked like Justin, looks like you missed your box there or something. You got away from that group.
Yeah, just
Came down with them, but coming out, you were 3 seconds back.
yeah, I overthought just that one in,
Oh.
and you put the lollipop pop right in front of the hood, and you're usually good. And I guess it's a little too close, or to your windshield. But if it gets a little too close, you gotta hurry up, try and back up, and yeah, it didn't fare out too well for me. Unfortunately, I lost him. I was hoping that I noticed on a couple of other green flag stop, I was definitely, even if they beat me out of the stall, I was able to close on them around the pit exit of turn one. But they were just they had about a second and a half of me and 5 cars or so. It was all over from there. I was just out, just trying to maintain whatever position I could before I got caught.
Yep. So that made a 5-car train, a 4-car train, and Brandon Cotton was in there too in the 5 car, and he was a lap down, so he wasn't really racing for the win. And I noticed that he He was, I think, second or third coming off the pits. And he, once everybody caught up, went wide and just hung out in the back. And I thought that was pretty respectful racing from Brandon. Just want to make sure I recognize that. But then, so it came down to Eric leading. Aaron Holroyd was pushing Eric, and then Jason Huffman and Dustin Reinstedel in the 11. And me and Michael Harris both put our money on the 11, figuring out how to get to the front. It looked like Aaron let Eric get away just a little bit, which allowed Dustin or Jason, it may have been Dustin, that gave Aaron a big push up to Eric. And instead of Aaron hitting Eric at, a 15-mile-an-hour difference, he decided to shoot around him. So he shot around Eric, and it kind of left Eric to dry or to take his lumps down there on the yellow line all on his own. And Dustin followed Aaron. And Jason, or maybe Jason was in front of Justin, right? If I'm forgetting exactly how it played out, but I know Dustin ended up giving Jason Huffman a big bump, and they went around Eric and Aaron. So it was just down to the last coming out of turn 4. I think it was maybe even been in the middle of the turn. Dustin gave in the 11, gave the 4 a good push and got right around the leading 2 coming to the line. It was really close finish. I'm looking at it now. The top 4 cars were all within half a second of each other. So that was a pretty awesome, amazing finish. And I'm hoping we're going to see some more of that as the season progresses. What else? What did I miss there,
Nothing.
Justin?
Just well, I want to touch on something there towards the end. It was the 4 that gave the Manscaped car a big push. So Hoffman set that line up to go, and they were moving. I was telling Justin after watching the replay, I said, "There, I mean, really, nobody could pick Eric up at the rate he was dropping. Like they either would have sandbagged or wrecked because there was that big of a speed discrepancy. So those guys were moving when they went by him."
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how Eric got so far ahead, but he did, and that's all it took.
We won't know
Yeah,
until we interrogate Aaron.
yeah, the way you said about Brandon, there's quite a few guys there left that, uber respect out to you guys. You guys just kind of pulling off and falling in line. It's that was really cool. Appreciate that from you guys. That won't be forgotten in the next coming races.
Yeah, it's the Midwest Motorsports, man. It's not an official race, official lobbies. Everybody's here to have fun and enjoy it, and I think we saw that. There were some the yellows that came out looked like they were just victims of circumstance. Really, it didn't seem like anything was too far out of place. Of course, obviously nothing was intentional, but just seemed to be getting some runs that kind of got lopsided and trying to hold a steady wheel and just get crossed up just a little bit. That's all it took. But I was really happy to see the green flag runs, green flag pit cycles too.
Yeah, I think for super speedway, I think overall it was a really clean race. It's not the truck count though. It's not the car count that we have in Truck Series, but that was a good clean race, I think, and not a whole bunch of shenanigans going on. So kudos and hats off, and hopefully the entire season stays that way.
Yeah, I have one other stat check here, and then I'll put the points up. Actually, I'll go ahead and put the points up on the screen and get that stuff going. But so going back to what you said earlier about Eric and leading laps, he led 70 of the 100. Was it 100 laps we ran there?
100 laps.
He led 70 of them. So He was out front for a vast majority of that race. Points are up on the screen, guys. Take a second to take that in. Like I said, they're going to change as we run more races. Speaking of more races, next week we have the Trucks and Cup Series out at Nashville Super Speedway. So I believe it's 150 laps for the Cup Series and 113 laps for Trucks. So it's going to be a
Big change of
long
pace
race.
big change of pace too. Style of racing.
Oh yeah. Guys, remember you gotta take your foot out of the throttle going into the corner. Big adjustment coming from Daytona, but take your foot out of the throttle going into the corner. I can't remember the tire allocations for these races, so go into it in your practice sessions. Go into it with tire management in your back pocket because that will help you in this series in either the truck or cup. Anything else we missed there, guys?
Racing wise, I don't believe so, but I would like to say, um, posted an announcement about, I guess, it's no surprise we're a free league. We do have a donations tab on the website, and we were able to upgrade. Well, we will be upgrading the streaming PC here with a better GPU. We did have to get new power supply, but that's already been procured. So all that runs from Eric's home. So I don't physically have access to that PC, but basically, since we've been growing, especially I think more or less the Road Series, um, and the introduction of rain, sometimes the streams have been pretty rough. We notice that. We do everything we can, to get the best quality of everything. When either it comes to our series or the product and other things that we offer here, right? And we never want to ask for money, but we did make a post that if anybody wanted to, and we're not guilting anybody into it. It's not a requirement. We are a free league, and we run this all just because it's a passion and a hobby, and we just enjoy all types of racing here. But um, since that post, we've gotten a lot of donations from members long term who've been here a while, and some newcomers as well, and just everybody being so, I guess, gracious. Has been a really cool thing to see, and we appreciate whether it's $2 or $20. So thank you all who voted, and all those funds go back into the league, paying for some back end stuff with accounts to either run the Google Drive and the website, or pay for the sessions and a couple small upgrades outside of the GPU and power supply for the streaming PC. So really hats off. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. And aside from the racing product, just having so many nice, cool people who again choose to be here has been amazing. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. No obligation to donate, but everybody who has thus far, and in the future, if we don't get to thank each and every one of you personally, we do greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
We are so lucky to have so many awesome admins that make this league possible. And being on this side of it, I see how many moving pieces there are to run three full seasons, and everybody's volunteering their time. Nobody's doing this, to get rich. Everybody's volunteering, and it takes a lot of moving pieces, and it takes a lot of participation too. So if you like what you see, and you feel the need, we definitely would appreciate it. And I think the broadcast is going to have a big step up with this upgrade. So shout out to Eric and everybody to make that whole broadcast system system work. It's pretty amazing. We're all doing this from our own house, all across the country, all across the world, and making it happen, coming together 3 times a week. So, thanks to everybody for listening, and thanks for everybody for contributing a little bit if you can. Buy a cup of coffee or whatever your heart desires. But if you like what you see, give, man. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way in keeping this going for the future.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Great group, great drivers, and it's fun work with the admins to keep the stuff going.
Speak for yourself on that part.
So that's all we got here for the week on the cool down lap, guys. Great job to all of our winners in the Oval Series. Again, Robert Sanders and Jason Huffman. Let's see if you guys can keep that stuff going into the season. And all the other drivers, keep going out there, giving it your best, keeping it clean. And we're going to have some fun this season. So we'll catch you here, same time next week. And we'll cover everything that happened over the week again. We'll do it all again, guys. So until then, everybody stay safe and have fun.
Don't forget to stay in your lane.